So first of all, a warm welcome. So I'll just give you a quick introduction of about myself first, and then probably we can look through the topics which will be covered for today. So I am a certified Oracle Integration Cloud Specialist, and I have in total of close to around 9 plus 10 years of experience implementing Oracle applications, both EBS and Fusion. Okay. And I have close to 3 plus years of experience working only on Oracle Integration Cloud for different technologies. So in my 10 years of experience, I have at least implemented more than some 15 to 18 end-to-end implementations, which includes different modules like HCM, SCM, finance, all these different tracks, and also projects, and also CRM. So I have different wide varieties of experience on implementing the modules as well. Right? Along with that, from the Oracle Integration Cloud point of view, I have experience working for more than 3.5 years there, and integrating different systems like third-party systems to Oracle Fusion system, or EBS system to third-party systems, and EBS system to Fusion systems, all kind of integrations, along with page developments like VBCS, JCS, and other stuff. Okay, so we're talking about only Fusion implementations. I have done at least 6 to 7 Fusion implementations alone. Right. So that's quickly about myself, and I am from Bangalore. Right. So I do work for a reputed company. This is about myself. Right. We'll go through the course content in some time. Meanwhile, we can have one particular integration created so that it will be easier for all of us. Yeah, able to see my Google Chrome window for an instance?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me open my Oracle Integration Cloud instance. Yeah, this is my Oracle Integration Cloud instance, basically. Right. So we have employee onboarding. These are the recipes which Oracle by default provides us. Right. So we can we can go through the run demo, and then we can see how this recipe works for us. Right. And travel approval and all these things. So which will give us more insights on how better we can create an integration and a process. Right. So this is an integration recipe, and this is our process recipe. Okay. So meanwhile, what we'll do is, so just go to the connections. So let's do one thing. In our live demo, what we'll do is we'll create one particular integration, right? So which integrates between Oracle. Say for example, I have a file which is placed in our FTP server, right? And I'll read that particular file from the FTP server, and then use it as a HDL loader to our Oracle Fusion HCM, right? So for example, I have my FTP here, right? And I'll have just a moment. Yeah. So I have my FTP, and I have Oracle Integration Cloud, and I have Oracle Fusion SaaS application. Right. So what I'll do is I'll have a worker file, which is worker.dat file or zip file, so which has worker.dat file, which is a HDL file, right? To be read by ISE, and then push it to this particular Fusion instance, and then initiate a data load on that particular file. So is this fair, or any doubts here uh, on any of the things here? So we'll create an integration at Oracle Integration Cloud. We'll read the file from a FTP server, right, using a FTP adapter, right, and then we'll push that same file to Oracle Fusion SaaS uh, uh, and issue a data upload command so that it will go ahead and upload the data which is present there. Any doubts here on this, or I'll just show the integration how to create it.
No.
Am I audible, guys, or
Yes,
did I lose?
yes, Ashim, you can go ahead.
Okay, good, great. Thank you. So, firstly, we have, I mean, I'll just show you the adapters which are huge capabilities which Oracle has, right? So we have around in total 71 adapters which can be used, like Adobe eSign I was saying, right? So we have AQs, Oracle AQs, we have DB2 adapters, DocuSign adapters, right? FTP adapters, file adapters, Gmail adapters, right? IBM MQ series JMS adapters, JD Edwards adapters, LinkedIn adapter. So all these can be, all these application adapters are available so that we can use this application adapters and then connect to the particular application directly and then do some more good operations. Okay. So whenever we use application adapters, our life would also be a little easier because so Oracle would have taken care of more or less the basic requirements of what the functionality which we are trying to achieve in that particular integration. Okay, so coming to the connection, so what I would need now is, so I will create a, I mean, if I have to connect between FTP and my OIC, I would definitely need a FTP adapter, right? Okay, and to push this from OIC to Fusion SaaS, what I'm pushing is a worker.zip file. I'll just show you that file also. Uh, so, uh, so it's a worker.zip file which contains a worker.dat file, right? So that file is uses the HDL. I mean, it's a HDL file to load the HCM data load, that is our employee information and other information. Okay, and then this is our Fusion application here, and to hit our Fusion application, which is our HCM, right? So then we'll have to use HCM adapter. Okay, so what I'll do first is, before creating this integration, I'll have to create the connections. So one is on FTP adapter and one is on HCM adapter, and provide our URLs and other stuff, and then get it enabled, right? So like, for example, I'll create one connection, right? So I'll say, I'll select this FTP adapter, right? I'll select this FTP adapter. I'll say this as test FTP demo. Okay, and the role here would be the trigger and invoke, so that it will trigger and invoke the particular adapter, right? And then I click on create. So I'll have to enter the connectivity details of our FTP server. So I'll just enter the FTP server details on that, right? You'll have to give the host address and then port. Since it is SFTP, I'll give 22. And if it is SFTP connection, I'll say yes to that particular SFTP connection. So rest all is our optional stuff. Like if we have to enable FTP SSL options or SSL certificates, right? All this can be done, and for the encryption and decryption things, right? And then we'll also have to provide the username and password from which we will try to connect that particular FTP server. Okay, I'll just click on test. Right, so test what it will do is, sorry.
Hi, Shashi, I have a small
Yes.
question here.
Yes, please.
Now, normally, okay, either it is local file or FTP.
Okay.
For example, I have a requirement like this. I want to pick only yesterday files. That is also by using the name and the date.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any option that while picking the files we can give this option like okay, the file name with this and the date, pick only these files.
The file name, I mean, whenever we use this FTP adapter, right? So I am just creating a connection now. So what happens is, so uh, just, yeah.
Got you. I mean now you are
So
going to configure this at the integration level, not at the connection level.
right. I'll just configure that at the integration level. This is at the connection level. So I'm just establishing a connection now. So this is Venki, right? So I'm just
Yes. Yes.
trying to establish a connection now. That's all, right? I'm not doing anything as such from the restrictions point of view. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
just establishing a connection here, and what kind of files or file names should be read that I can define in my connection, right? And if it is based on the date, then you'll have to add additional filters to that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, this is how we create a FTP connection. I'll just click on test, uh, and yeah, so the connection was tested successfully. So if you have any issues connecting to this particular IP address and then with the user credentials, then it will show us here, and then we'll have to resolve that first, right? And then I'll save this particular connection. Okay. I'll go and so one is I have created the test FTP demo. I'll also create a HCM adapter, right? I'll say test HCM demo. So test HCM demo, and it will again be trigger and no. So, but trigger will just trigger that particular adapter, and it will not invoke it until and unless we do an external invoke. So that's the reason we use trigger and invoke option on this adapters. Okay. So and then I'll create this. While creating this, I'll have to provide my application URL. So this is my application URL. And then I'll provide the credentials. So from the HCM, if a person has to load a HDL file, right? So there are certain roles which has to be enabled to that particular user, like human capital management integration specialist is a role which has to be given to this particular user so that he'll be able to do the integrations. Okay. So otherwise, we'll not be able to do the integrations properly. I have the user details. Just a moment. It is HCM underscore IM here. Okay. I'll just click on test. So this will just test the connectivity to this particular URL, and it will nothing else will be done here. Rest everything had to be done by ourselves while we do the integration, right? So this is tested successfully. Now what I'll do is I'll just save this connection also, and then we'll go back to our integrations. Right. So, all right. So we have your integration here. So I'll just try and create a new integration. So we have to select whenever we click on a new integration, we have to select the type of integration which we have to create. Right. So majorly we choose between app driven and scheduled orchestration. So app driven is basically if we have to drive it from a REST API. I mean, if we have to expose any integration which is created in OIC as a REST or SOAP service, then we'll have to go ahead with the app-driven orchestration, or else we'll go with the scheduled orchestration if we have to schedule it on a daily basis. Okay, so I'll go to the scheduled orchestration here. I'll click on select. I'll give my integration name, test worker demo. Right, and then I'll click on create. Yeah, so it will create it this particular way, and you can click on this. So this is your schedule. So you can do any kind of schedules. It's a calendar symbol. Basically, it says us that it can be scheduled at any time, any given time, and any given dates, right? And then this is our end node. So always, whenever we have the scheduled orchestration, so we'll have one start node and one end node, right? So in our case, this is the start node and this is the end node, right? And then I'll try to add test FTP demo. So that's the first step for us to read the file from our FTP server, right? I'll say read file. On next, I'll say read a file, and I'll have to give the directory. Let me open my FTP. I'll log into my WinSCP. You're able to see my WinSCP screen, right?
And no, we are seeing OAC screen only.
Oh, let me unshare my screen and reshare it again. How about now?
Uh, Still, yeah. Now we got it.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is my WinSCP. I mean the FTP which I have tried to connect to, right? And I have this just ERP folder. I have this worker.save. Okay, so I'll do this. I'll just show you what is there in this. Right. So it's just a sample file which I have placed. It doesn't have any proper realistic data for the demo purpose. Okay, so I'll just show how this file can trigger there and then initiate the load there. Okay. Yeah, this is a worker.dat file. You're able to see the notepad plus plus which got opened. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is a dat file which has this HDL of assignment data to be updated, right? So this is some sample data, right? So it doesn't have any meaning actually. So we'll just see whether we are able to hit this particular file to our Oracle Fusion. So whatever comes as part of this file as a HDL, like say for example, we can create an employee using this HDL, right? So all these details will be there in this file, and then when we hit this to Fusion, and it will get loaded there, and it will create a employee there. Okay. So this is my folder. I'll have to give the folder name or the directory name here, right? So I will give the directory name, and here I have to specify the file name, right? So I can do a star as well. It will read all the files, or I can do worker at workers star, so that it will pick all the worker and append it with the date or timestamp file names, right? So in my case, I know the exact file name. So what I'll do is I'll just give, for now, for the time being, I'll just give the file name directly. Okay, which is my worker.zip. Okay, I'll click on next. And do I have to specify the contents and the structure of the file? I don't have to, right? I will click on no. If we need any sample CSV files to be loaded, and we have to specify the structure, then we can give it, right?
Shashi, sorry for interruption.
Mhm,
Can you go back? Can you go to the yeah go back one more step?
mhm.
Yes, here the file name is there, right? Okay, you given exact file name. Now, for
Mhm.
example, uh, now here in the file name itself, I want to pass the dynamic date. How I can pass
You have to pass
along
the.
with the name, dynamic date. I mean, now for example, every day this file needs to be picked based on the date what we have for the file name. Now, for example,
So
2020.
usually in that cases, what we'll ask our clients or whoever is dropping the file to FTP to append that with a date format, right? And that date format can be specified here. Like say, for example, if I have to pick files, so I'll say worker, and I have say, for example, I have the files starting from, I have to pick only uh, 2021 files, right? So I can say star 2021 star, something like this.
If I want to, okay, if I want to pick every day only yesterday files or today's files, can't we create, okay, can't we create any variables and assign to file name? I mean, inside the integrations anywhere.
Over here, we will not be able to assign it. Uh, so what we can do is for that, what we can do is probably we can read all the files which is present there with a specific file structure, right? Okay. Say for example, if I have 10 files placed there, right? So somewhere placed yesterday and somewhere placed today, right? But I'll have to process only yesterday's files. Then we'll have to restrict it. We'll have to copy all those files to our local file server, which is in Oracle Integration Cloud, and then load only the files which we wanted to load. That can be done. And we can also store that into a table in our DB object of OIC, and then pick and choose what else, what are the things which can be processed.
Okay.
But we don't have the capability to assign a variable directly here.
Is it
Okay, we
possible
have,
through file transfer what we have in the orchestration?
right, we can do that. That's what I was saying, right? We can transfer all those files into our local file server of OIC. So by the way, OIC Gen 2 has much more capabilities, right? So OIC Gen 2 will in itself comes with 500 GB of space for the file server.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so you don't have to buy a FTP server, which is additional when we were using Oracle Integration Cloud Gen 1. With Gen 2, this is the additional capabilities that they have given us. That's the reason, I mean, Gen 2, OIC Gen 2 is like a boom in the market, and more and more clients and customers are going towards OIC Gen 2.
Okay, Shishi. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Moving on. I'll just create this particular connection. I'll just say look it into horizontal. Okay, so I have a mapper Whenever I create a connection, so I'll usually get a mapper associated with that. So since this is a basic mapper, we don't have to do any changes here, right? I'll just open and show it to you guys. Right, so it started with the schedule. So schedule this the start time of the schedule, right? That's the reason we don't have to do any mappings in this particular integration and runtime details. Okay, so this is a start mapper from the schedule point of view. Now that we have read the file from FTP, so now the next step to us is so we have completed this part, right? Uh, Now next part is we have to push the file from OIC to Fusion SAS and then hit a trigger and load on that particular application, right? So for that, we have already created a HCM connection. So I'll use that same connection, which is our test HCM demo, right? I'll use that particular connection and I'll say, let's say worker import. On next. So here you have multiple options, right? So you can directly, I mean, these are the capabilities of HCM adapter. Okay, so it can do query, create, update, and delete information. It can directly do it based on the REST APIs also, right? And you can also subscribe to the updates using using the Atom feed. So this is a new feature of Oracle Fusion HCM, wherein you can register to certain REST APIs, REST endpoints, so that you can do a real-time integration. So what happens is we can create a app-driven orchestration and then register to this particular Atom feed, so that whenever say for example, I have a new worker created, I have to immediately migrate that particular worker to third-party system. Then we can register to this particular Atom feed of endpoint of the worker creation, and then that will initiate or that will trigger this particular integration whenever there is a new worker created. So that's the basic usage of Atom feed. So what we call as business events, which gets triggered right in Oracle EBS. So it's similar to that. Okay, and then we have import bulk data using HCM data loader. This is the HDL which we are talking about, which will have two-step process. One is to push the file into Oracle UCM, which is Universal Content Management. So Oracle Fusion always comes with a UCM server, right? So which has bare minimal capability of placing a file there and then initiating a import and load operation on that. Okay, and then first step is pushing the file to UCM. Second step is to trigger a process which uses that particular file to import the process, to load the import process. Okay, or to run the import process to load the data into base tables of Oracle Fusion. Okay, that is your import data using HCM data loader, right? And then receive files from HCM cloud. So this is to download the HCM files from the, HCM bulk data files from the Oracle UCM, that is our Universal Content Management, which I was saying you, all the Oracle Fusion instances will have a surrounded layer of UCM, which is like a file server. Okay, and then send files to HCM cloud. So this is a separate capability, which is the first step of this particular process, right? So this will just upload the file into our Oracle Universal Content Management and generates a content ID and gives it to us, right? And whenever we are using this, then we'll have to probably initiate the import process altogether using a separate HCM adapter or separate REST or whatever it is, right? REST adapter or whatever it is, but it will not do the HDL load. It will just place the file in the UCM. That's all. Okay, but using this particular operation, we can do both placing the file in the UCM and then triggering an import and load operation on that particular files. Okay, so I'll just click on next. So it will just show you what is the operation which you want to do. Either you can do a submit an HCM data loader job, and then you can also do a query the status of the HCM data loader job, right? So once we have submitted it, we can also have another HCM adapter to just monitor whether the job has completed and what are the errors. So we'll have to also read the errors, right? So we can also create an error extract there, and then we can read that particular error extract from once the process is completed. So that's the reason we have this particular option. Okay, I'll just do a submit an HCM data loader job. That's something which we are doing now, right? And these are the two important things which we'll have to do. One is to map the security group. So the security group for us would be Fusion import or export. That's the security group which we would be using. Okay. Uh, so basically, it is a set of files grouped under a unique name, right? So not everything which we would be loading as CRM stage will be can be used to do the HCM data load, right? So similarly, not everything which can be pushed as FA auth pub content can be used as a important load data file. Okay, so Fusion import and export is a capability of the security group. So that will only those kind of files can be used for the import and load operation, either be it FBDI files for creating suppliers, customers, or invoices, or be it HCM, HDL files for creating employees, workers, and assignments. So all this should be Fusion import or export security group. Okay, and then document account. So what is a document account, which we usually so document account specifies what kind of operation which we are doing, right? So what kind of operation I have to do is I have to do a data loader on a HCM, right? So I'll select that particular operation here. So if you have to do the FBDI integration, then the document account will be different, and the adapter itself will be completely different, because this is a HCM adapter and you'll have to use the ERP adapter for that. And then document account will also be your ERP data loader and import. Okay, and if my file of HDL file is a PGP signed file, we can also select the PGP option here itself, and then give the keys so that it'll consider the PGP encryptions from the, and decryption can happen at the Oracle Fusion end itself. We don't have to worry about anything there. Okay. So I'm choosing none for now. Okay, since my files are not PGP encrypted as of now, right? I'll just choose none. So if you have to choose yes, then you have to upload the PGP details into Oracle Fusion application, and that will take care of the decryption part in the Oracle Fusion Cloud itself. Okay, so this is about submitting an HCM data loader job, and I'll click on next. So if you see here, from the summary point of view, we have given the security group, which is important, and we have given the document account, which is important, and we have selected the encryption mode as none. Okay, and then I click on done. Okay, so this is my integration basically. So once we have added this connection here in our integration, then we have to work on this mapper. Now we have to map the file which we have received from FTP. The correct file, the same file has to be sent to worker import as well. Okay, so that mapper will have to perform here. Okay, so if I open the mapper functionality, so it will just show you in the left hand side is my response of the FTP, and the right hand side is my target. This is the source and this is the target. Okay, from the source I'll choose response, because the request is just a request which will be sent to FTP. We will not get any file there, right? We will get the file only in the response section. So I'll map the response section. So basically we will need 2-3 things here which has to be mandatorily mapped, right? I'll just map those things so that it will pick the correct file. Okay, one is the file reference, right? So you have to just drag and drop that to this particular field here so that it will get mapped here. Okay, so this is my file reference, and then I'll also give the file name. The directory doesn't matter, because we don't use any directory structure in the Fusion HCM, right? So even file type, creation type, size, checksum, all these things are not mandatorily required for us. Okay, because these need not be same as the FTP. Okay, so yeah, I mean, one question might arise, this shows asterisk mark, and why should it not be mandatory? So it will take default values here, right? But file name and file reference are something which has to come from the FTP. Otherwise, it will not take the correct file name, right? It will take the default things again here. But file type, directory, modified time, creation time, all these things can be default. I mean, we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so I'll just click on validate. So this is a major important part whenever we create a connection. The mapper functionalities are the ones which takes care of most of the custom things. And in the mapper functionality, we have multiple options, like we can do conversions, operations, additions, deletions, all these operations here, right? So it has huge set of functions which can be done, right? And then we also have the custom lookups which can be used, so that if we have to decode something and then used, right? So all these are like newer capabilities of Oracle Integration Cloud. Okay, so I'll just click on validate, and mapping is validated, and then I quickly close. Any doubts on this particular thing? Maybe you can stop me, guys, whenever you have any doubts, or if you are feeling I'm going a little faster also, you can ask me to stop and repeat it once again. Hello?
Yeah, Shashi. I mean, it's okay. I mean, the mapper creating the connections, okay. But for me, I don't know what is HTML also, HCM also.
Mhm.
So it's okay. I mean,
Okay, okay. So basically, that all will be covered in detail. So HCM is again instance, right? HCM is human capital management. Okay. So ERP is your enterprise resource planning. So HCM is a separate pod, and ERP is a separate pod, right? And the licensing of them would also be separate, right? So HCM will have only employee management system, and ERP will have your SCM and financial management system.
so mostly
uh, the HRM, I mean, it is like a module, right, in EBS. So you have something called as HRMS module in EBS, right? So which is nothing but your Oracle Fusion HCM. Okay.
so
So because
most of
since
the
HCM was launched way
Mhm.
before, I'm sorry, I'll just finish this
Yeah.
point. Since HCM was launched, I mean, it was one of the first applications which Fusion was launched, because that's something which has limited functionalities, right? In terms of uh, applications as well. It's limited, right, compared to SCM and finance. So you have huge number of tables, you have huge number of applications, you have huge number of processes to be taken care of. That's the reason Oracle has launched Fusion HCM, which is human capital management, which is the same as the HRMS, global HRMS, which is present in EBS, right? Whose functionality is way too limited compared to SCM or finance. That's the reason they first stabilized HCM, Fusion HCM, and then launched it, right? And then stabilized it. And then they went ahead and released the ERP, which has wider versions of SCM, Fusion, financials, everything, and like Oracle PPM, that is project portfolio management. And they had also launched CRM, Oracle customer relationship management. So all these are like separate modules which they have launched. That's all. Is it clear now?
Yeah, I mean, the our course, most of the times we are going to use the HCM or ERP
Right, right.
adapters.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll be using more ERP only, uh, right? For just showing the connectivity from end to end. I mean, since we had this worker file handy, I had used this. That's all. So similar way, we can rather than having this HCM adapter, we can have ERP adapter, and then push a supplier file. No much of differences. I mean, you will have to do file reference also here, and you'll also do a file name here. That's all. So I'll have to map these two things, and the file which is present in my FTP will directly be loaded there. Okay. since this is a demo, we'll be showing a basic demo here, and going through the details of it, we can have multiple things inside it, like uh, we can how to use all these advanced functions in our mappers, right? So whenever I drag and drop this one, right? So there'll be something which gets enabled here, right? So these are the ones where we can write our custom code also using these components and additional functions, right? So if we have to decode anything from here while sending from source to destination, we can do that also.
So, Sashi, yeah, actually, I missed some part because I had to step away, but I can get this recording, right?
Yeah, you will definitely able to get that.
So the other question I had when you are showing this, right? So if you have to have a migration, right, from let's say on-premise, let's say, I mean, we have Salesforce to on-premise EBS integrations. Let's say we got to move to Oracle Cloud, right? Is there any migration path to from the on-premise SOA composite applications to integration cloud? I mean, rather than having to build everything from scratch, is there anything like we can leverage to convert those composites or import them into integration cloud? Is that at all possible?
So you have to migrate it from SOA composite suite, is it?
Yeah, because let's say I have Salesforce as one. Salesforce is on cloud, right? And let's say my on-premise is on EBS, correct? Or now let's say we want to uptake Oracle Cloud. So we already have the business logic, everything implemented as part of the SOA composite applications, right? So my question is, can we use the same SOA composite applications to connect to ERP cloud adapters? I'm not sure if Oracle Apps Adapter, there is a support, but is there a support for ERP cloud adapter?
I think with the latest SOA suite, we do have connectivity, since SOA suite will soon hit the sunset, right? Because since OIC is a new generation of SOA suite, correct? So one is drop the licenses of SOA suite and then get into the license of OIC is one option. Second option is, I think with the newer SOA suite which has released some 1 year back, I think that has the capabilities of calling the cloud adapters, is what I believe.
Yeah, okay. So at 12C?
Yeah, that's one. And Oracle, if you reach out to Oracle CSM, then they will definitely ask us to, since SOA will hit the roadblock maybe in a couple of years, they'll ask us to move to OIC itself with similar licensing cost and other stuff. But the only thing is that
would there be a migration?
Migration path, from the migration path, there are two things. One, we can migrate it, or Oracle also has an option of migrating it from older applications to newer applications.
So we can migrate as in there is a feature or a utility that
we don't have a direct utility because things are different, right? So your EBS connectivities cannot work with your Fusion connectivities, right? So we cannot have any direct utilizations for that, or direct migration paths like which can lift and shift our applications directly. But Oracle will provide us bare minimal migration steps, and they'll also do the migrations with some additional costing.
Yeah, okay.
Or
But
we can also do that.
Design this logic, right? The connectivity and everything.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
So we need to redesign everything, right, in ICS?
At least connectivity is part, yes. I mean, you don't have to redesign the entire stuff because most of your
example,
IFR files,
like the one you're showing, right? It's a transformation, right? XSLT file. So would we be able to get those BPL processes or the transformations into ICS?
all right. So we will not be able to do it. That's what I was saying you. So what happens is Oracle will have access to all this XSLTs and other stuff, right? So that's the reason they will be able to recommend you a migration path, and it will have additional licensing, additional costings for the migration which is charged, right? And if we have a proper CSM associates, then it'll be a bare minimal cost for us when we choose to go to OIC again.
Okay.
Okay. So I mean, they'll if it is a CSM whom you know from the long time, then they'll also help us giving more discounts and getting the migrations free also. For one of my clients, we had got this migrations literally for some additional bare minimal amount.
Mhm.
Okay. That answers your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So moving forward, so I have anyways validated this particular mapper, and I'll quickly close this. Right. So this is my integration now. Right. So first is I have a schedule, and from the schedule I have this read file from the FTP, which reads the file, right? And then map that file into this mapper, and then that particular file is used in this HCM. I mean, we have used a HCM connection to push the file into our Fusion HCM instance. Okay. So now I'll have to enable the tracking for this to make this integration active, right? So I'll just drag and drop the start time field so that it will get enabled. And I'll just save this, close this integration. And then I'll click on, if you hover around this particular integration, it will show you the options to activate it. I'll click on activate, and you can enable the tracing and ask them to include the payloads. So it will be helpful in our debugging processes. Okay, click on activate. Okay, so this is activated now. Right. So once this is activated, again, if I hover here, it will show an option to run that particular integration. Right. I'll just click on submit now, and I'll do an ad hoc request and just click on submit. So it will just show me a confirmation with the instance ID of that particular run. Right. I can click on this hyperlink itself, or I can go to the monitoring here and then check on the integrations. Right, and I can click on this particular run. So it will just show me, says it is succeeded. Let me just check what has happened here. So these are the, I mean, if you do include payloads, this is the advantage of it. Okay. Right, it has sent this worker.zip file. Let me check that same thing from my yeah. This is where we upload the files using manual processes. So we'll just see whether that particular file has hit here or not. So we'll go to import and load data, Fusion HCM. Yeah, and if you see here, there's a file which got hit now, right, with this UCM ID. And its import status, and I mean it's loading basically. So it has 4 lines, as I had showed you the file as well. It has basically the assignment lines and work terms lines, right? But since it is failed because it's not a proper format of the file. Okay. So this is how we can do an end-to-end integration. So now what we had done is we had picked a file which is present in this FTP server, right? And we had pushed that file directly to our Oracle Fusion application here using a data loader capability, and that file got loaded here. Okay. So this is how we do an end-to-end integration from the Oracle Integration Cloud. So any doubts on any points of this integration can let me know. So this is how we track it also. And these are the messages. And if we enable the payloads along with the message tracking, so it will just show us all the details as well. Right. So this is like message received by invoke read file. Right. So this is the response. And there's a data mapping which has been done, and this is the import and load data which has performed, right? And we can see here that it has pushed this particular worker.zip file, and this is a base64 encoded format of the file, right, which has pushed, and this is a file name. Right, and this is my process ID which got initiated. So first step is to, as I said, you're right. First step is to push the file into UCM server, and it has pushed here. And the second step, it automatically did the import as well using this, submitting this process ID. So even if you have to see from the backend of the Fusion, I can see there'll be a process which would have submitted to load that file, right? As I showed you here, right? So this was the process initiated. So this was the file which was showing it to us here, right? But in backend, it will actually had triggered a process that is a ESS job, which will nothing be like a concurrent program in our EBS. Okay. So this is how we track this instances and integrations, right? So if you see the dashboards, it will provide the entire system health, runtime health, integrations health, everything, right? And whenever integration, so if say for example, if my integration goes into error state, right, I can have a next step saying that it can also send a notification to any of the users, so that saying this particular run has been gone into error, so that person can easily get to know, okay, today this particular run has gone into error. Okay.
I have a question. Can we delete the I mean in the monitoring the error instances or the success instances? Is there an option?
Sorry, I didn't get your question exactly. Can you repeat it, please? Voice was little bit.
If you go to monitoring,
Okay, I'll go to the monitor.
back. Okay,
Sure, I'll go to the monitor.
monitoring
Mhm,
integrations. Okay, now for example, if you
mhm.
go to integrations, okay, here uh, we have the instances here. We have the instances, right? I mean the log records.
Right.
How can I clear them? If I want to delete them, how can I delete?
I didn't understand. Why do you want to clear this? For this, we'll have to raise an SR itself to clear all these loggings on the cloud application, because we'll not have application to all this. We'll not have access to all these logs and other stuff of this. So if you have to clear any logs on this particular integration cloud, not only this Oracle integration cloud, even for that matter, if you have to clear the logs in the JCS, that is Java Cloud Service as well, we'll have to get it cleared from Oracle itself. We will not have access to that. We'll just be managing and maintaining this. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Or
That's it from my side. Maybe when we start, from scratch, our not demo, our normal classes.
mhm.
We may come up with many questions.
Right, Lily. Venki,
Okay,
you're from. Sorry.
I have one more question if you can cover the curriculum, right?
Yes, Ashwin. I'll quickly cover the curriculum.
Classes.
Sure,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do
How
that.
many classes or you take for ICS, and does it have to be a weekday? If it is a weekend batch, how will you cover?
So this particular batch is a weekday batch, actually. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like 7 to 8:30 in the morning, 1.5 hour session every day, and it will have. I mean, we will cover at least 50 hours of. I mean, 50 hours of sessions, so close to around 33 to 35 classes. So if we have a weekend batch, then it will be in a different mode. We will have uh, 3 to 4 hours of session per day. Like Saturday we'll have 3 hours, and Sunday we'll have 3 hours. So 6 hours to 8 hours of sessions in a weekend.
Okay, so anybody else, any other questions? Okay, good. So in case if you have anything, you can just drop us a WhatsApp message. You can see the number 8908-123-123. So in that number, you can drop us a WhatsApp message. And so our admin team will reach out to you to take you further into this training. And then once you join, we will share you the instance, and you can just start to practice on the instance. And then yeah, we have our instructor, and if you face any problems, so he's there to assist you and clarify your doubts. If you face some problem in working out, so he's there to like help you out to complete the integration training. Okay. So any other questions, you can reach out to us, and we'll request our admin team to contact all of you in this batch. Okay, thank you so much, Sashi, and thanks everyone for joining this demo session.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone.
Thanks
Thanks.
everyone.